What's up, fight fans? This is Kirk Deville with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Errol "The Truth" Spence. There was an article that went out that asked a question regarding Errol "The Truth," and they said, can Errol Spence Jr. still fight at his fearless, aggressive best? Okay, and Sean Porter had something to say about that. He said, now 34 still has that dog in him, specifically whether his one-time opponent still has that heat-seeking fearlessness to match the brutal effectiveness he demonstrated in his prime. He said if Errol Spence doesn't come back aggressive, Porter said, if he doesn't come back trying to get into the wheelhouse, trying to break guys down the way he used to, the number one thing is I want to see from him, from that standpoint, is it a true game plan or are you really just hesitant? At the end of the day, Porter said, I want to see Errol Spence Jr. back. Well, let me counterpunch. I think you can look at this two ways from Errol. For one, who will Errol be fighting? For two, how much damage did he really take in the Terrence Crawford fight? Because what I noticed about Terrence Crawford's victims, they're never really quite the same. Gamboa was really never the same. You know, Jose Benavidez was never really the same. Jeff Horn got knocked out his very next fight when he went to 154. You know, these guys are not the same when they get in there and they tangle ass with Terrence Crawford. So I don't know if that's the case. However, I do understand that Errol Spence Jr. is an elite fighter. And I also understand that he won't be fighting Terrence Crawford. He'll be fighting someone else. And I think that plays a major key in that. Now, I'll say this. Even though Errol Spence is an elite fighter, and he was able to beat a lot of guys, and he got beat by Terrence Crawford finally, I think he can still fight, and I think he's just going to have to prove it, first of all, to himself, and then second of all, to everybody else. You know what I mean? I think that's what he's going to need. Will him receiving the money that he received in the Terrence Crawford fight deter him from wanting to fight or train the best to be who he used to be, or even better, when he returns to the ring? Because one thing is certain, they may not have a date for it, but Fundora versus Spence is a very dangerous fight. You better ask Tim Tszyu. And Tim, that was on some freak accident type stuff. But Tim Tszyu, I really feel bad for him because Tim Tszyu, you know, was getting to him, Fundora, before that unfortunate incident. So saying all that to say this, anything could happen into that ring, but he has to knock out Fundora to beat him. I don't think he can try to out-jab him from the outside. No, he's just too tall for that. He's 6'6". You're not going to out-jab a 6'6" guy, especially when that guy is giving you everything in the kitchen sink and he has a least little decent of defense. But other than that, I don't want to disrespect the kid. Errol Spence has to show everybody that he still wants it. But I think he can, if he's still there, if he's actually taking care of himself now after the loss, because you do remember he flew out of the country after his first professional loss with his girlfriend or whatever. So I think, if anything, Errol needs to show people, like, hey, I'm about this life. I'm still about this life. One monkey don't stop no show. And that's what he needs to show everybody, including Fundora, because Fundora is viewed as a top super welterweight. So if Errol Spence doesn't beat him, you know where he will be? He will be in the same category as Deontay Wilder. Sad but true. You guys tell me what you think of the very good question answered by the public. Will Errol Spence have the same tenacity and dog in him as before the Terrence Crawford fight? Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace!